First off, I'd like to say thank you to Storm M. I'll keep the last name private for obvious reasons, but thank you again, Storm. All the submissions for this video were submitted by her. At the end of the video, I'll have a link to her Reddit pages. I think you'll enjoy her stories. Of course, this is Network Ghost, and this is my inaugural video. I hope all of you enjoy it. Without you, the fans, I don't think any of us on YouTube would be anywhere close to successful. So, again, thank you to all you fans out there. Go gentle on me. This is my first video, so keep the comments kind. Feel free to give me any suggestions you might have. So, without further ado, let's begin. Last year I wasn't feeling so hot. It was a week before Christmas and my mom and I were both diagnosed with the flu. This made me a pretty miserable person. I was feeling gross the whole day, and I had kind of a meltdown the night before, crying and sobbing, almost throwing up the medication I had to take. I was really sick. We had an extra bed in my mother's room. My dad had just moved out at this time. So instead of making her sick daughter sleep alone when she could barely breathe, Mom put me up in her room. The night was not really uneventful. But the next morning was worse. I woke up and my mom was right there, seeing if my fever had gone down. We talked for a few minutes and she told me I could stay there the whole day if I wanted. That was fine with me. We had a Blu-ray player with Netflix in that room, and I figured after I slept more, I'd get my laptop and go to town if I felt up to it. Christmas specials and sleep sounded pretty good. Well, Mom left and I laid there for a few minutes. I heard the door to the house slam shut and hear our lock click. I tried going back to sleep. I was cozy and still feeling out of it. Well, a few minutes later, I hear a loud thud, and another, coming from inside the room. I laid still, terrified with my eyes closed. I heard it again, like something was circling the bed I was in. But the freaky part was, when the sound moved right to where my head was, it stopped. I felt like I was being watched. I instead grabbed my shit and hauled ass out of that room. I looked back. Nothing was in there. I still closed the door to my own room. After that, I went back to sleep in my own bed. I was terrified, but my body was begging for rest. When my mom got home, I told her what happened. She proceeded to tell me, or ask me, "So it happened to you too?" There was no one in the house. This wasn't the last time or even the first time I heard something mimicking my parents, but this was the scariest. The first time it happened, I was 12 years old and having a sleepover with my best friend. We were just being girls and talking about shows, books, which one of the up and rising Disney star was the cutest. Watching scary movies on TV. We knew we weren't supposed to be watching, but watching anyway. Then we hear, "Girls!" I mute the TV. "Girls, come out here." It sounded like my dad. Now, my dad snores like a chainsaw having, well, certain relations with another chainsaw. It would be impossible to miss it. We did a stupid thing and looked out my bedroom window. Nothing. We did another stupid thing and looked out my kitchen window, which faced our backyard. Nothing. And here's the creepy part. We heard it again. While my dad had just passed us to go into the bathroom. We didn't tell him, but we were too scared to sleep alone. My friend refused to sleep on the couch, so I dug out our sleeping bag, and she slept there that night, while I laid awake in my bed terrified to move. That's only a fraction of some of the weird stuff going on. Not all of my creepy encounters are of the psychical creeper. Supernatural creepers lurk, too.
I just realized how creepy this memory is. Submitted by Storm137 from the subreddit Creepy Encounters. Wasn't sure where else to post this, so just sticking it here. So roughly 5 years ago when I was 14, I was at a Halloween event with my then best friend. We were just being girls, enjoying ourselves. We're getting free candy and buying cheap crap because hey, it's a flea market and we had spending money still. Well, after stopping at our favorite booth, we started walking down the section that's almost completely empty. Now I must add that our costumes were pretty, well, mild. I was dressed as a character from a book, so I was wearing a long black dress and a cloak with a red wig and a blue moon painted on my head, House of Night, Neferet, and my friend was a type of shaman, but since it was cold and her mom refused to let her go out in a skirt, she was wearing jeans. We were just talking about anime, what houses we were gonna hit that night, wondering if we could find the owner of the local card shop's house again, since she gave out card tins instead of candy with some actual cards inside. I got a kick-ass Yu-Gi-Oh! 5DS tin the year before. Then out of nowhere this tall skinny guy approaches us. He's tall, pale, skinny, and he has a camera in his hands. He asks us if he can take our picture. We look to each other and shrug. We had been asked for our pictures before at a different event when we were kids for American Girl by someone who worked at the Michaels downtown, so we weren't really fazed. And in our minds we were cosplaying, so we just thought, ha. Finally we're getting some recognition as cosplayers. Well, cameraman has us stand against one of the empty booths and it basically goes like a miniature photo shoot. Ask us to pose, to smile, to give a serious face. And he says he'll email us the pictures, so I gave him my email, my own personal one that I had just gotten, and that was that. We never got that email. And when we were remembering it a couple of years later, we realized it was a Polaroid camera, not a digital camera. So, flea market creeper who was taking pictures of teenage girls, please don't ever come near us again. The Dog Walker. Submitted by Storm137 on the subreddit Creepy Encounters. Alright, so this happened actually regarding the same friend in my last story. I just realized how creepy this memory is. I'll be honest. A lot of the creepy shit that's happened to me over the years was because of this friend and her sister's lack of common sense regarding things. This particular encounter involved them when I was around 10 or 11ish and the younger sister was around 8 at the time. The older sister was my age. So it was just a regular spring day. It was warm enough for us to play outside but not enough to be without some form of coats, so we were all just playing quietly. It wasn't really playing, more so reading kid magazines like Discovery Girl or National Geographic. So we were just hanging out, talking and pointing out clothes we might like to have from the magazines or cool animal facts. Then we see him approach. He's an older man in his late 50s, with graying hair and these really cold steely gray eyes. He had this little Shih Tzu dog with him, a fluffy little white thing. I didn't like this guy off the bat as he stopped right in front of my yard and the dog was sniffing around on our yard. Well, hello there, girls. My friends, like the young girls they were, squealed and darted right over, petting and loving on this dog, and talking to this guy. He looked at me and beckoned me over. He smiled at me in such a way that just sent chills down my spine. I shook my head and told him I wasn't allowed to talk to strangers. My friend tried to say it was okay since he wasn't a stranger anymore, since you just said that to him. She was naive. I stood my ground and didn't descend that slope that made up majority of my front yard. The guy shrugged and looked me in the eyes and said, "Maybe next time." The girls came back up and the guy let his dog crap on my yard. Nice. He left, but he kept showing up. Specifically wherever me and the girls were. He once showed up while I was outside with my own dog. Before he showed up, she was asleep dead to the world while I used her back for a pillow. Oreo was a docile dog, to family and people she trusted. To everyone else? Psycho dog. She was well trained though, so she never needed a collar. So if she went apeshit, I was not liable. Oreo starts to growl. I mean a low, deep in her throat, stay away from my pup kind of growl. I roll over a bit and see him standing there with his dog again. Ah, he doesn't want to play. I growled a bit myself. I said I'm not allowed to talk to strangers and she is a girl. I called Oreo inside and I ran in and locked the door. I did tell my parents the first time this happened and they were getting creeped out. We moved to this neighborhood because it seemed safe enough for me to be outside by myself for the first time in years. As in my old neighborhood, a guy tried to kidnap me once. That's a story for another day. So one day while I was outside again, my friend was with me and my parents thought, okay, this should be fine, safety in numbers. My friend goes charging over to the dog, squealing over it and cuddling it. I called to her that my dog would get angry with her. The guy gave me this look. My friend tried to protest and even said, we should bring Oreo out to meet him. I said, and I quote, "No fucking way am I bringing her out here. I don't want that dog crapping on my yard again." He left. We started to go in and I turn around. Fucker let his dog shit on my yard again. I made a point to scream, "I saw that," and startled him before I slammed my door shut and proceeded to snitch on my friend because I was the one he was really scaring and my parents were understandably pissed. My mom called my friend's mom and explains it. Well, the final straw with this guy happens in the next week on several different days. I was in my yard reading the latest round of Goosebumps books I had gotten. I heard the sound of a dog tag swinging. They make a kind of jingle almost like a bell when they collide with each other. Most dogs had two tags back then. I looked up and there he is again. He said, "Blank blank, isn't here today." I got pissed and scared at the same time and did the one thing I could think of. I screamed at the top of my lungs for my father. My redneck serial killer beard wearing father. I was a tiny petite little thing who got mistaken for a cancer patient a lot because of my alopecia. My dad was the exact opposite. He comes storming out of the house and I tell him that's the guy. He looks at this guy and says, "Have a problem." He walks off in a hurry. My dad tells my mom as soon as she gets home and she is livid. That's it. Next time I see him I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. She had yelled. Well, mom got her chance. because she saw him walking with my friend's 8-year-old sister 3 days later while we were driving home from the store. She slowed down the car, rolled down her window and called the girl's name. She looked up. My mom was pissed. "Excuse me, what are you doing, young lady?" "Oh, she's my friend." The guy tried to answer for her. "I was helping him walk his dog," she added. My mom is pissed. The conversation that followed, I kid you not, went like this word for word. "Get in the car." "But..." "Get in the fucking car." She dropped the leash and ran around getting in, knowing she was in for it. My mom and the guy argued a bit and my mom told him she was calling the fucking cops if you go near my daughter or her friends again. He tried to give some BS excuse and she said, "Grown men don't try to make friends with little girls." The girl got a lecture the whole way back and my mom marched her inside to her mom, who was freaking out because this girl had walked off hours ago without telling anyone. She got a lecture on safety that night from both moms. Well, things are quiet for a week or so. I'm comfortable being outside again, but for a while I'm in my uncle's yard. We live in a duplex. Uncle lives right next door, which has a chained-in fence with a gate. Dad's sitting right nearby playing with the dog while I read. I was a heavy reader. If I was outside I was reading, if I was inside I was reading. If I was on the internet I was finding new things to read. We see the guy and he slows a bit. My dad went up to the fence and glared. Guy walked off quickly. Probably what finally ended this guy's weirdo ways was when the friend's sister made a claim against him. She was a pathological liar, but my mother believed her. And looking back on it, I have to believe her too. She had claimed this guy molested her and had her in his car. She was 8, there was no reason for her to be in his car. So there we all were, cops, my parents, me, the guy and even his stupid little dog. The guy was told to stop harassing us and that if they got another call about him stalking little girls he was gonna get it. He only showed up once after that. I practically tackled my friend, who still didn't seem to get it. She tended to look at things in a rosy perspective to block out crap. She had a crappy childhood. I had a cell phone at this point and yanked it out, flipping it open. I told the guy if he didn't keep walking I was calling the cops since he had slowed to look at us again. He never bothered us again. I don't know what the heck his deal was, but this didn't feel like some kind old gentleman trying to make nice with the neighbors. This was too systematic. Unfortunately, this was not the last creepy encounter I had because of these girls, but those are stories for another time. Edited because I talked to my mother earlier today and got more of the details. This had happened when I was a kid, so my memory isn't crystal clear.
I hope you enjoyed my electronic collaborator. If you like this video, hit that like button. Also, remember to subscribe so you can continue to enjoy all of my exciting content in future videos. And of course, feel free to share with all of your friends so they too can enjoy all of these great scary stories and encounters. And most importantly, thanks for watching, because again, without all of you fans, I wouldn't be here making videos. And I am truly looking forward to seeing you on my next video. I've always enjoyed making things for other people as long as they enjoy what I do. And this is Network Ghost signing off and saying good night, Godspeed, and safe journeys.